Play is everywhere and all around us. Play is how species have fun. It's how we give ourselves a break from the trials and tribulations of daily life. Everyone has their own way of playing. Most of the time, it includes playing with other friends or people. This play can come from the exhilaration of a roller coaster, or it can come from simply relaxing on the beach with some friends. But what happens when that play is taken away from you? When you can no longer participate in activities that brought you so much joy? The streets where people used to roam are now empty. The coronavirus pandemic has transitioned everyone from outside to inside, from being in groups to being alone. Here, we're going to take a look at an interview with two students to see how their play has been affected by COVID.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm a 16-year-old and I'm a sophomore at University High School.
Hi, I'm Molly, and I'm 13 years old, and I'm an 8th grader at Rincon Vista Middle School. I would define it kind of more how you described it, where just kind of a way people can escape and have fun and not have to be so serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty similar. I would probably just define it as something that somebody finds enjoyment in and relaxes with.
I like listening to music. I like watching TV. Before COVID, I used to hang out with my friends a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That I found a lot of enjoyment in, but it made me take my mind off the serious stuff.
For me, I hung out with my friends a lot, and we went to go see like local shows and hung out downtown and stuff. And I play like video games and stuff, and that's very fun for me.
Once people were trapped indoors, they had to shift the way that they played and have fun. Let's take a look at how these students played once coronavirus set in place.
Well, obviously I can't hang out with my friends as much as I used to anymore, or if at all. And with kind of things where I'm watching Netflix or like I'm listening to music, sometimes it doesn't feel as fun because it's one of my only options that I can do. So it almost feels like it's not as fun because it's one of my only options and it's kind of forced.
Right, so you feel like you are limited in options, which is not as fun.
Yeah.
We can see here that my sister Molly said it just right. She noticed that her options were limited due to COVID. COVID has really, for a lot of people, taken away a lot of options, like hanging out with friends or going outside, going to the mall. We can see here that play is limited because choices are limited. We can reference one of our readings by Sutton Smith. The distinguishing feature of play is that it is an exercise of free choice. Even though one may not choose all of the choices that are in front of them, they would still like to see that option. When we have more options, we have the illusion that we have more freedom. More options means more things to choose from. Even though, say, you are only choosing one thing and you have 10 options, that is a lot better than choosing one thing and only having 2 options. We can see from our readings that freedom and free will is a critical aspect of play. So as soon as COVID came along, those options were taken away. And as soon as those options were taken away, we felt like we had less and less to do, even if our choices remained the same. Let's take a look at how Sophia adjusted her play during COVID.
I definitely spend a lot more time on the screen. Like, I play video games way more often now with like Zoom classes. And so playing those video games, sometimes it doesn't feel as fun as it is because it's kind of similar to what my sister said, is like you're always doing that thing. So like switching from just doing Zoom classes to doing video games, even though they're different, part of it still just feels like so bad.
One of Sophia's normal hobbies before COVID was playing video games. That hasn't changed since COVID began, but what has changed is the actual desire to play these games. Sophia used to do so many things besides playing video games, like going out to concerts, going to the mall, but now, since it's one of her only options, along with being on the computer all day for school, it's no longer appealing to her anymore. However, as we will see in the next slide, the general popularity of video games has significantly increased in response to COVID. Bringing me into my next point, COVID has introduced a new rise in the popularity of video games. Video games are any game that can be played on any sort of gaming system or computer. Let's look at one specific example of a video game, Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is a game on the Nintendo Switch that has multiple versions that have come out on the Nintendo DS in the past. This game came out on March 20th, 2020, right at the very beginning of COVID. At the time, COVID was scaring people in a lot of different ways, and people weren't sure how long we would be in this for, how long we would be in quarantine for, whether it would be days, months, weeks. This feeling of uncertainty when people would finally be able to play like normal again caused Animal Crossing to fly into the spotlight. Like, finally, a normal video game for people to play, a normal feeling, a game where we can make our own world with our own rules, where everything is so simple. This is highly representative of pretend play, something that is crucial in both childhood and adulthood. My boyfriend and I even bought a Nintendo Switch just to play the game. Since its release, Animal Crossing has sold over 13.5 million copies. I now want to discuss some of the new adaptations that humans have made in order to play and have fun while still staying safe because of COVID. A lot of the things that we used to do involved going outside, going to amusement parks, football games, and miraculously, humans have still found a way to enjoy all of these things while still being safe, something that we've never thought of doing before. Let's take a look at a discussion about these adaptations.
I am Caleb Decker. I'm 20 years old and my grade is A.
Nice.
I recently read a novel called The Plague by Cadmus, a French writer, which was based on the French bubonic plague, I think, of 1890s, but was set in the 1940s in a French town. But once they were locked down, life inside of a 1940s French city was really boring and dry and just depressing because they literally had nothing to do and nowhere to go. They couldn't leave the city, but they couldn't leave their houses either. And inside their houses, what did they have? They had books or, card games or that's pretty much all they had. Luckily today, in 2020, we have so much technology that we don't even have to stop working when we're locked down. We can meet over Zoom calls, we can text, we can email, we can do all sorts of things. But talking about play, we're not confined to just books or card games. We have technology, we have video games, we're able to watch videos of other people playing, maybe old videos of Disneyland or old vacation vlogs. We're able to make up our own plays and communicate with people across the entire country in real time.
I think that, like anything, there's balance. I don't think that the right answer is to just go to any sort of extreme. I don't think, we just aren't, health doesn't allow us to open up and play and have those experiences that we had pre-pandemic, and we have to adjust to that. It doesn't mean we can't have fun. I mean, there's lots of ways to have fun. I mean, you have to just sort of adjust your mindset.
It's so interesting because we're so lucky to be living in the age that we live in now, with all of our digital culture. Caleb and I were discussing earlier how, we can't go to Disneyland, we can't be in the park, but we can watch videos of people being in the park. We can watch YouTube vlogs of people being in the park. We can, watch sports games on TV, like people back in 1920, 1820, even like the 1980s, and 70s couldn't even do that,
Yeah. And I agree. And I think that that's definitely an advantage. It certainly helps with the boredom. You know, as an example, races are canceled. For Dad and I, we've done some virtual events where there's been fun things attached to that to make it fun. But I mean, realistically, are we going to be able to go run a giant race with lots of people? Probably not. But is there still a way for us to engage in our fun or play, even if it's not at that grand level? Yeah, sure, there is. And so I would rather be able to do it in some way than for someone to say, no, you can't have any running events at all. Like, it allows us all to find different ways to engage in the things that we love, maybe in a different way via, you know, honestly just staring at a screen. But I also think that there's going to be challenges to that because so many of us have just been locked in on a screen. It's like kids are going to school and all they do is they're on a screen, and their hobbies a lot of times now are migrating towards screens. I mean, video game play is up. You know, you've got things like Twitch and other things. Kids are on screens constantly right now. But the fallout from that, of getting kids to re-engage, you know, in more face-to-face, and I think that's going to be a challenge unique to this pandemic, and trying to get people back out there and engaging. Right now, I am a little worried about it because this is school, everything is online, and so all of a sudden when that goes away, people have to learn how to re-engage a little bit.
And it's interesting because, like, when you say everything is online, like literally everything,
like Black Friday shopping,
Black Friday shopping, entertainment, everything, right? Literally everything is online. Something that I have learned and discussed throughout all three interviews, all three discussions I have had, is that COVID has made humans adapt. COVID has no doubt put a stop on a lot of things that were pretty established and pretty routine in our daily life already. And humans do not like changing up their routine, right? I don't like changing up my routine. We used to go out with friends. We used to go to concerts, movies, Disneyland, go out to eat, right? All of these things that brought us so much joy and provided us a play outlet have just been stripped, right? I think that we have reached a livable state in our lives with COVID where we can still have fun. I love going to Disneyland. It's one of my favorite things. If you can tell through this whole interview, through this whole video, Disneyland's a common theme for me. I love Disneyland, and not being able to go and having some of my plans canceled is heartbreaking. 20, 40 years ago, I would not have been able to adapt the way I have now. Now, I watch videos of my favorite Disney vloggers going to Disneyland, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago. I watch, you know, old park videos. I watch new park videos, in fact, where they go to downtown Disney and just shop, because the feeling of just being in the area brings me so much joy. This is the same for a lot of people, right? They watch old videos of games. They watch premieres of movies in their households. COVID is not permanent. Humanity has been through so many plagues, pandemics, right? We've been through a number of them, and we are here. We are standing. We are still here. So I think that it is important for people not to get discouraged, because I think that is something that is really preventing people's play. People are discouraged, like, why can't I do things like normal? Why can't I do this like I used to? People have to kind of understand that this is the temporary normal, right? So as long as people keep in mind that we will get back, and we will get back there, and we will eventually reach a solution, it will immensely improve people's play right now during this really difficult time. And there's no doubt in my mind that humans will prevail like we always have, and we will continue to play like we used to. But playing now is not so bad.
Rocket's gonna knock over your camera.